Yeah, call me Mr. 300, because it's the 300 review. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Netflix time. This movie's called 21 Bridges. R.I.P. to Chadwick Boseman. Spoiler alert, let's just get it. So right at the back, it starts off with a funeral of this guy named Andre. His father was killed in the line of duty. It was an ambush with 3 guys. He ended up killing 2 of the 3 though. But basically, that's what happened to him. 19 years later, Andre's a grown man. And right off the back, he's meeting with Eternal Affairs. So apparently ever since he's been a cop, he's killed 9 people. But it was all in self-defense. Eternal Affairs doing all the debriefing. When he gets home, he's got this lady here named Rosa that takes care of his grandmama. Next, we meet these 2 guys by the name of Raymond and Michael. They hit up this restaurant, which is basically mostly like a wine cellar. They get this nigga get the keys to the safe. Apparently, they know he's hiding cocaine. So apparently, they were only supposed to snatch up 30 kilos. But when they look down there, it's 300 kilos of coke. So right at the back, I know you're thinking to yourselves, there's a lot of coke to have in just a fucking wine cellar, right? First thing I'm thinking to myself is, who does this guy work for? Probably some mob niggas. Probably police on the payroll. Big shit. They only get like 50 bags when they coming upstairs. And all of a sudden the fucking boys are knocking on the door. And why are these niggas knocking on the door? Ain't nobody alert them. Nevertheless, as the guys are hiding, the police see the drop bags on coke, and that causes for the bum rushing. The shooting takes place, niggas getting done deal deaded out here in these streets. They put the bags in the car, they get a getaway. But not before more cops came and more cops got deaded. And I'm gonna tell you right now, they was lacing the shit out of these cars. One cop just happened to still be alive, and the neck was torn the fuck up. So he's moving the car out the way because it's in the way of the getaway car. Bottom line, this plan went completely left. There was a ridiculous amount of bags of cocaine. About 7 to 8 cops dead. This shit went all the way to the fuck left. And now we got Andre on the case. Niggas is dead. Everybody said, what the hell you doing sitting down the crime scene? Get your bitch asses up. And now I about to talk to the chief. Gives them the what's up, give them the situation and all that. He's talking about these cops are dead, you know, they got families and all this stuff. And they're going along with the case and everything, but it seems like the cops are more concerned with his Eternal Affairs review. I guess he's too much for them on the force. I get that funny feeling I know where this is going. They found a freezer full of cocaine, and I bet we're all asking the same damn questions, right? Why the fuck is this much cocaine in a measly ass wine cellar? Was a nigga working for the mafia? Does he have cops on the payroll? So the chief teams him up with his forensic specialist named Frankie Burns, my bad. And that's how it's going down for you, Andre. Meanwhile, these niggas gotta get the money, get out the city. You know the routine. They gotta get the fuck up out of here. And apparently all this is taking place in New York, particularly Manhattan. Then go this nigga like, hey yo, what the fuck is the deal? You said 30 kilos in it, be at 300. What kind of mob shit you got us stuck in? They changed the deal, because they try to get out of here alive and they ain't got time for the bullshit. That and the fact they killed 7 or 8 cops. Back down to the scene. And I swear these cops are more concerned with Andre taking his Eternal Affairs report. It makes it seem like he's really not one of them. I gotta get to one of the funniest lines in the movie.
He shits on us every chance he gets. The fucking guy eats pizza with a fork. He wants to.
I just thought it was quite hilarious. So the scenario is this. He thinks these guys are sharpshooters because they killed 7 to 8 cops in a confined space with 300 kilos of coke in a wine cellar, which they only took 50 of. They're gonna need somebody big to distribute it to and get the fuck out of there. So he's thinking to himself, they're still in Manhattan. So what Andre proposes to do is have them call the mayor to shut down Manhattan for 5 hours. Ergo, closing off bridges, airports, everything. And that's why this movie is called 21 Bridges. So as asinine as this request is, Mayor obliges. He's like, hey man, catch them by 5 in the morning. So basically they got 5 hours. So they end up getting a tip and they find a car burnt down in Chinatown. It was Raymond and Michael's getaway car. Of course they switched them shits. But the reason they thought they was here because Michael tossed a burner phone in there and it led up to the car. But that's going to be a mistake on Michael's part because that's going to give him another clue or another lead. So Michael and Raymond meet up with niggas. As Shorty's tested out the product, everything good. And they go to this guy named Quan. He got the cash. But he wants them to get the fuck out as soon as possible because they're already hot in the streets. They on the news. So he talks them into giving them $1 million for the coke and convinces them with this shit, you can make like 5.4 million off of it. And besides, our boys on the run and shit. So he's like, all right, bet, but you gotta clean the shit up. Laundering and whatnot. Then we got police busted out the door. Turns out the guy Raymond and Michael were complaining to was this dude named Toriano. This lady is Toriano's ex-girlfriend. Andre gets a one-on-one. She spills all the goods. She tells him about Raymond and Michael. So apparently Raymond did some time in his service, military and whatnot. He was best friends with this dude named Agro. The thing was, Agro was blown up when he went to Afghanistan. But he had a brother. His brother is Michael. And that's why Raymond is so close to him. Michael was also in the army, but he had a dishonorable discharge. Apparently they said he attacked a sergeant, but that's not even denied or confirmed. Meanwhile, time for them niggas to clean the money. They go to this guy to clean it up. They haven't put the money in a safe. But Raymond ain't trusted this nigga until Michael calms him down and talks some sense into him. So apparently he's been sober for a while. But after all this stuff going down, he puts his chip on the table. He's like, man, hit me with a thing of scotch. Alright y'all, here comes some bullshit. So the cops somehow find out where Torino's whereabouts are in the club. So they heading down there and Andre says, don't touch him for nothing. Or don't go in the club until we get there. But who goes in the club? The cops that was sitting on that damn ground during that crime scene. And they turn him around. And they don't give him a chance to duck. They turn him around and shoot him done deal dead. He ain't get a chance to put his hands in the air, nothing. Look at him acting like they tough. So by the way, 3 hours that went past during all this. Boseman found out these 2 Duke goofballs acted without his say-so. They get some bullshit story. So the thing is, these cops trying to kill niggas because 7 to 8 cops died. The problem is they needed him to talk so they could find the other 2 dudes. And these cops acted recklessly. And of course, pushes him back. He said, enough of that shit. I'm not having it. So Frankie took a phone call. Her little girl was calling, just making sure mommy was alright. So meanwhile, back to the crew. They're getting passports, get away, all that shit. Which cost them a good portion of what they got, but they still have $700,000. All of a sudden, they getting battering rams at the door. It's apparently Detective Kelly and the boys. Now we're all thinking to ourselves, how the fuck did they know they were there? So he's trying to figure out what's up. He looks through the peephole. Yeah, he ends up looking through the peephole. And cops end up busting him through all that old shit. Shoot first, ask questions later, having ass niggas. So his eye pretty much fucked. He's about to die. He tells Michael his password to the computer and tell him to take the hard drives. So we think to ourselves, what the fuck is on the hard drives? He tells him about this group called the 8-5. Now what's the 8-5? Nevertheless, Raymond and Michael find a way to get up out of there. But as they're running, Frankie and Andre are right on their trail. And running around the scuffle, Raymond got shot. He tells Michael, we gotta separate from now, yo. Says, man, I'll catch you in Miami. Andre ended up finding Raymond, got his ass lit up. Before Raymond dies, he tells him, Michael's not like me. So what did that mean? Well, to us it means basically Michael shot at cops, but Raymond was the one that killed him. Andre comes back downstairs. Michael got the drop on Frankie. They get into a little back and forth, and then Michael tells him about the hard drives. But he can't really tell him yet because he don't know what's on them. She wants Andre to take the shot, but Andre's like, nah, don't worry about it. I got you. And Michael throws her on the ground and locks them both in the closet. See, he ain't trying to kill nobody. He's trying to get away. So now he's back on the run again. He ends up following this guy getting in his hotel room, and he basically knocks him out so he can use the computer and look at what's on the hard drives. So as he's scrolling through, there's a bunch of numbers and payrolls. Then he finds out in the news both Raymond and Toriano died. He goes back to looking at the files and finds the 8-5. So 8-5 is actually 85. So the 85 doesn't have names, it has numbers. What kind of numbers? Cops' badges numbers. So that's how cops like Lieutenant Kelly ended up finding him. They all let on the take. So as he's making his way out the hotel, Bozeman gets a call from the hotel. He's like, all right, we gotta get there. And then the chase is on. So basically, the cops are trying to kill this man. Bozeman doesn't want him harmed. He wants to learn about the drives he's talking about. It boils down to a chase on the subway train. Yeah, one-on-one before the cops came down there. So he gets into the train and he tells them what he saw on the tapes. Cop numbers on the take and the payroll. Probably the big reason why the robbery was so fucked up. So Andre's talking sense to him. Michael's about to give himself up. And as he's giving over the gun, somebody shoots him through the fucking door. Freaking Frankie shot him. He's like, really? Now, her supposed defense. She said it looked like Michael was about to shoot Andre, right? But we clearly saw Michael handing Andre the gun. Now, we know MTA doors are not the clearest, but let's say they're clear. Michael and Andre were right in front of each other. You're telling me you couldn't see him handing him the gun, but you saw clear enough to have a direct shot at Michael's stomach through the fucking door. Really, Frankie? Really? What in all of the kind of an explanation is that? Look at his face. That's the face of miss me with that bullshit. So he goes over to him right before he dies and gives him the hard drives. I just noticed that. Look at his eyes. They got crosses in them. Oh shit. Maybe it's the light from the top of the subway, but still. And after that, Michael's done deal dead as shit. So even though it's like 7 a.m. at this point, the cops end up getting their suspects. When guys say stuff like this, like, yeah, I think they called the right man for the job. But something's still not setting Andre at ease. So he asked to borrow Frankie's phone real quick and had Kelly's name in it and LMSI. And at around these times, especially for Kelly, that call was made at 3:35. 5 minutes later, they found Raymond and Kelly and Michael. So they found them that fast through Frankie. So she's one of many that's only known how to take. And it made sense for her to just kill Michael altogether. So as the chief is going to his house, he's got an unexpected visitor at his house. Long story short, Andre see what was on the hard drives. He's pretty much the mastermind behind a lot of it. Got a lot of people in the force on the take. He hits them with some garbage lines like, yo, it ain't about the money, it's about having a life. About keeping their households together and all that other stuff. Bottom line, them payouts are more than enough money for them to be doing that type of shit. Now the crazy thing, they don't really get into it, but he's starting to think he has something to do with his father dying too. Because I think 2 of the 3 guys he was looking for were actually policemen. Undercover policemen, I think. Basically, he's like, you can turn this in if you want to. The cops are going to be on my side on this one. You won't have a friend left on the force. You're going to be looking over your back for the rest of your life. But you can tell right from the get-go, they really didn't want him to be there anyway. They were still tripping off his internal affairs interview. And besides, he's too good of a real cop to be able to take with the boys. He's got integrity. Before you know it, another cop's out the way, they'll start shooting. The craziness ensues. Chief gets pushed to the back. Here come these 2 bitch niggas. You knew they was able to take. Getting well-deserved deaths. Yeah. And you about to get yours too. You get duffed, white boy. Next to no Captain on one side of the wall, Andre the other. He slides through, giving him the death deal dead as shit, Captain. And right from behind here comes Frankie. He convinces her not to shoot, like you got a daughter at home. And besides, he already made copies of the drives anyway. He already sent them out. So she going down, done deal, that's it. He puts the cuffs on her and takes out the house. So afterwards, what do you think happened? As he's driving with the original copies of the hard drives, you think he's quitting the force? Is he leaving New York? What's his plan now? What's his motivation? Does he still want to be on the force with a bunch of crooked cops? How's it all play out for him? We don't know. You can come up with your own imagination for this story. Once again, RIP to Chadwick Boseman. You already know what it is. Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 1 and 2, bitch. 21 Bridges on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe to all that. You already know what time it is. These, man. Stop. Big. Look at that slogan.